not talking about the counter-inauguraal, just to clarify. In organizing for last night's rally, I reached out to an organization that we have not worked with here much in New York City to ask them to speak. I won't mention the name of the group because it's not helpful. But they had done a lot of work on a particular struggle, more than we had, so I thought it was correct to ask them to speak. This was their response, quote, "Although many in workers' world have their hearts in the right place, your organization's desire to create a deeply authoritarian Marxist-Leninist government is at odds with our goal of worker control." End of quote. Now, I got this response on the morning after the elections, after a very, very long night for me. So as y'all can imagine, my response was a little sharp. For full disclosure, or transparency, as Imani would say, here is what I replied. Really? Now, today, of all days, when a white supremacist, misogynist is elected president, you want to talk about differences that don't matter and trying to create a united front or help the struggle? Sorry, but I'm a Mexican lesbian revolutionary, and I cannot take this today of all days. The quote, my response. Yes, my young friend, we are unabashedly, deeply Marxist-Leninist, but do not confuse democratic centralism with totalitarianism. They are not at all the same. Now, I bring up this exchange because after an unprecedented and even depressing election season, our tasks are too great, our challenges too many to entertain any ideas that do not advance the struggle. And to advance the struggle today more than ever before, we need unity and solidarity with each other, with the politically conscious as well as with the politically unconscious. That is not so easy. So I want to turn, it's not even easy for me. I have a lot of impatience. Lamont's teaching me. So I want to turn to two great Marxist leaders. First is Comrade Fidel Castro Ruz, one of the greatest revolutionaries of all time. As you know, among Fidel's many accomplishments is that he was able to defy U.S. imperialism and solidify the greatest revolution in this hemisphere, and maybe even the world. What an astounding task. My young friend, there is democratic centralism in practice. All this Fidel did while the imperialists were constantly trying to assassinate him, not to mention blockade him and all the rest. I want to humbly focus on one of Fidel's traits to the best of my ability. It is a skill that I believe is of the utmost importance in this Trump period and of capitalism at a dead end. Over 50 years ago, Fidel was able to begin a political process that transformed the island of Cuba. How did he do it? How was Fidel able to build socialism only 90 miles from the empire? Back then, the Latin American movement argued that the United States would never tolerate a socialist revolution in this region, that it was impossible to defeat a regular army, even with guerrilla tactics. Fidel proved them wrong. Armed struggle was heavily debated, but to Fidel, there was more than guns. Guns were important, as we all know. He sought a political strategy. He built a political coalition instead of solely focusing on the armed struggle. To achieve victory against the brutal Bautista dictatorship, the task to him was to unite as many social forces as possible. Fidel carefully and stage by stage built unity, not just with the revolutionaries, but with reformists and even reactionaries. Not just with revolutionaries, but even reactionaries. Anyone who had a contradiction or opposition to Bautista, he brought them in. No one fought for unity like Fidel. He sometimes had to retreat, but he never ceded on his fundamental principles. He avoided theoretical discussions, chose instead to work on a correct political strategy. Now take note of that, my white beloved brothers, because Fidel is one of the most astute theoreticians ever, and he avoided theoretical discussions because he understood that the differences would be resolved through practice. Even in this ability to unite the masses, to deepen the revolution, to fight for unity, even plays out here in the United States. There is no other meeting that I can think of that you can go to where all the major left socialist parties are meeting together, except a meeting in defense of Cuba. So Cuba unites even the left here in the United States. Historians write, Fidel's great historic merit lies in having known how to identify the decisive link that would make it possible to seize the entire chain and enable the revolution to advance. I want to say that again. Fidel's great historic merit lies in having known how to identify the decisive link that would make it possible to seize the entire chain and enable the revolution to advance. That decisive link was the struggle against Bautista. Comrades, I ask you today, is our decisive link the struggle against Donald Trump? Let this conference answer that question today, throughout the day, and in the streets on January the 20th. In less than 24 hours after his election, queer folks, Muslims, people of color, immigrants, Jews have all been attacked by those emboldened by the Trump election. And thank Marx that people have risen up too. But the Klan calling for a march in North Carolina, the swastikas, white youth yelling, build the wall to Latino youth, means we have to take our fight to a whole new level. And that level demands a whole new kind of solidarity and unity with as many social forces as possible. The brigades to block the deportations should organize to stop the buses, stop the trains that are taking deportees out, even go to the airports to stop the deportations. They want to build a wall. Let's converge on the border and shut that wall down. Organize among the communities, block by block, door by door, so that the next time that a cop starts to beat and bash one of our black sisters and brothers, the community comes out in record numbers and stops the beating right then and there. So second, because that's not easy to do. That's a lot of work, to build the trust. You have to have people trust you. If you want to call them out to go beat a cop up, they got to trust that you got your back, right? So that takes work. So second, I turn to another great revolutionary, Sam Marcy, the founder of our party. Sam is our Fidel. Sam developed tenets that IMHO can only develop from the U.S. Defending the socialist camp and nations under attack by imperialism, despite their flaws, is a great tenet. And we need to study Sam more on this front, especially as the U.S. goes to war with Syria and elsewhere. But I want to focus on his other main tenet, the national question, which will be key under a Trump administration. When you have a PUSSY grabbing jerk, anti-Central Park 5 in the White House, and possibly a super cop, Giuliani, as the Attorney General, the movement had better improve on this issue. While warmonger Clinton and Pig Donald dominated the news, there was hardly a mention of the black people who had been gunned down in the streets. Police terror conveniently disappeared from the news, despite ongoing attacks. From here on, we have to turn that around and do everything we can to put Black Lives Matter back on the national agenda. Now, I raised Fidel and Sam because in order to defeat the coming attacks, we have to muster every ounce of solidarity to build the necessary coalition to advance the struggle. For example, I, for one, refuse to give up on white workers, even some of those who voted for Trump. I mean, for heaven's sake, some Latinos voted for Trump. Idiots. We cannot abolish capitalism, much less build socialism, without white workers. We have seen that the best of the best of the best of the white workers so understand that if you want to be a real fighter, you have to stand with Black Lives Matter. Sam Marcy understood this. Sam Marcy knew that without the oppressed in front as leadership, well, give it up. This is why myself and Larry and Monica and Berta and John and Lydia and others stand here today. We are black and brown communists. We are Puerto Rican and Filipina and Mexicanas who feel the pain of our people every single day. But we are red throughout and understand that if you care about your people, revolutionary socialism is the only answer. Thank you, Sam. Sam is our Fidel, but Larry Holmes is our Lenin. And a special shout out to Fred Goldstein, who laid our foundation today with capitalism at a dead end, which is so needed today. And I have a special message from Fred that I want to read at the end. What has happened in the streets since the elections show this period will be like no other. And we have to work to channel this momentum into something great. And understanding political strategy like that of Fidel's will be necessary. So I have a question. What if we organized a massive demonstration in addition to all the busting brigades that we want to have? We organized this huge demonstration on January 20th or whenever that got so many endorsers, and it was so clear that tons and hundreds of thousands of people were coming. It had a national buzz. And then we got a call from somebody like Bernie Sanders or even Elizabeth Warren, who wanted to speak at our event. What would we do? Well, wrong answer. Sanders is a little easier. We would say yes. But Warren, I think we would say yes too. I mean, we could argue, struggle over it, but that's my initial answer. Because it's one thing when you go with the liberals to their program. It is another thing when you can build the momentum so that the liberals come to you with your program. That, for example, was what our massive Peace for Cuba rally was all about. And we would do this. Right after Elizabeth Warren spoke, we would put Lamont or Holmes or Monica to speak, or even better, we would put Sharon Black on. No, Sharon Black, so that the masses, especially that young white woman who had expected Hillary Clinton to break that ceiling, would hear someone like Sharon Black speaking. And that young white woman would say, I'd rather be with them than with them. I'd rather be with the Reds than with the Dems. Because we would show that that glass ceiling that Hillary Clinton might have broken, those shards would have fell on the backs of working women and the oppressed. And that is called raising consciousness. That is called advancing the struggle. So in the coming days, let us continue to study Fidel and Sam Marcy, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Luxemburg, John Brown, Emma Thanayuka, and all the rest. And I finally, comrades, I believe with all my heart and soul that this is the party that will lead the revolution to take the White House down, that will make the United States of America a socialist country. The young people in this room will